Good evening, everyone. How are we all tonight? I'll just get my page up and running so that I can answer any queries that anyone may have while I do this. I will introduce myself also. My name is Monica Formosa, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the Wide Bay area of Queensland in Australia. And tonight for my live, I will be making a buckle card. Now we made this card in my class on the weekend, and the ladies absolutely loved it. This is supposed to slip into here. So it's a buckle card, and it has this little strap piece that comes over the top and goes into this opening here that we're going to punch out. We will be using a retired punch for that, but if there's a die that you have that could similarly do the same job, you could use that if you don't have the punch that I'm using. So yes, that's the card that we will be making. I will be cutting up my one sheet wonder that I stamped last week for this card, just for something different. There was a comment on my YouTube, over on my YouTube channel, asking if there was going to be a part 2 to show how to cut it up, and I said, oh well, I wasn't going to, but I thought, well, tonight we'll make a card, and the little bit that I have left over will make a second card. So that's what we'll do. Okay, so I have all my cardstock cut up, but before we do that, I'm going to be using the Shaded Summer stamp set for my Happy Birthday sentiment that will go on my label here. I've got Starry Sky ink that will coordinate with the ink that I've used in my stamping here. I will need some dimensionals. Now for this card, I've used this, I call it the fancy rectangle label out of All That Dies, but we will be using another punch instead of that tonight. I will show you. If you have the pretty pillow box dies, this one also fits, because that's the one that most of the ladies used on the weekend. Okay, but for tonight, I have grabbed the Label Me Lovely punch. Now this is just a tiny little bit too big to fit on that strap there, but I will show you a trick that to cut that down to size. And this is the retired punch that I was mentioning. This is the classic label punch. If you also have, I think it was the old word window punch, that would also work. And then maybe if you don't have either of those, there could possibly be a die in one of the die sets that are available to that Stampin' Up have. So, but all you need is just something to create this opening that we've got here, and it's got to be large enough. Well, this could probably be made to measure whatever the width of your opening is, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be any particular size. Okay. For tonight's card, for our buckle card, I'm going to need a basic white card base, and I will need to actually trim that. I didn't want to do that beforehand because I wanted to show you. So I need to trim it back, my card front, trim it back just an inch. Now, yes, I'm an Aussie, and yes, I use inches. I just find it a lot easier to work with when I'm creating, and my card measurements will have been trimmed down. My card measurements have been made to fit our A4 cardstock, so it's not the usual US standard size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Mine is just a little bit different. It's a custom size. Mine usually measures, I usually cut my cardstock in half and then score it at 5 3/4 for a top fold tent portrait style, or if it's landscape, I will trim it to 5 3/4, and then this score line will be at 4 1/8. But that's me. That's my custom size. You can certainly make your card to whatever size is your preference, and I will just go through the measurements of all the layers and just tell you how to adjust those sizes. Okay, so we will need a piece of DSP to go on the top of that, but I'll talk about that shortly. Okay, for the inside of my card, I have a matte layer of Starry Sky, and mine measures 4 inches by 5 5/8, but it's actually cut down to 1/8 less, 1/8 of an inch less on 2 sides. So that's how I've worked out that first matte layer. My second layer of basic white, it measures 3 7/8 of an inch by 5 1/2, and it's actually 1/4 of an inch smaller on 2 sides to get that layer. On the front, I'm going to have another piece of Starry Sky, and it measures 3 inches by 5 5/8, and that again is 1/8 of an inch less on 2 sides. I will need to trim down a piece of DSP to measure 2 7/8 by 5 1/2, which will be 1/4 less on 2 sides than the front. I have the strap part, again, is made out of Starry Sky, and it measures 3 3/4 of an inch by 1 7/8. Now, that has been cut to fit this opening. So whatever opening you have, just trim your strap part to fit into that. And for that, I have scored it. There's a little score. I don't know whether that'll come up on the video or not, but there's a score line there at 1/2 an inch. I've also got a scrap of basic white, and that will be for my sentiment, which will be stamped on my label. Okay, I will quickly say hello to everyone that's here, if I can find everyone. Hello Heidi, hello Bev and Vicky. So glad that you could make it tonight. If you're new to my videos, thank you for joining me. It's nice to have you along. Don't be shy, please come and say hello, and I can vouch that the ladies that are here are quite friendly. We work together a lot. Okay, so this is the one sheet wonder that I stamped last week, And somewhere here, yep, over here, I have a piece of vellum that I have marked out. Basically what I've done is I've just marked it in half and then marked those halves in halves again, so I've got quarters. And then this is a proper square. Like this measures, I think, possibly 7.5 by 7.5 centimeters, because our cardstock is, oh, I can't find my ruler. Here we go. All right, so yeah, that's 7.5, and I've made that 7.5. So that's a square here. So I've looked at this thinking, well, I need one of these longer pieces for the front of my card, because that's roughly the size that I need, the 7.5, which is my 3 inches. And I've also looked at the design of my card, and I kind of figured that this strap will come across and cover this area here. So I looked at this piece, and there's lots of lovely stamping, but then I don't want my strap to be covering all that lovely stamping. I kind of thought there wasn't enough stamping here. I could definitely use this piece here, which we might do, or we could use this section here, and we can flip it around and have a look at it this way. I think my strap here would probably cover a lot of that stamping and not leave much. Lots of lovely stamping. We could possibly use that one, and also could use that one. And I think I might use this one here. I think this one here on the end, and then this bit down here we'll use to make my second card. So I will trim that. And where are my measurements for my card? My DSP. So my DSP needs to measure 2 7/8 by 5.5. However, because I'm going to make my next card I want to make my next card a square. So my DSP needs to be 2 7/8, which is kind of just a little bit big, but that's all right. We'll work with that. 2 7/8 by 5.5. All right, so that's the piece we're going to use on our card front. Put that over here so we can use that. I need to just keep that where I can find that piece again. Okay, where's all my bits and pieces? So what we need to do first is I'm going to glue this piece of stamped DSP onto my matte layer. Getting those borders as evenly as possible. Now I only use a really tiny border around my DSP. You can certainly trim yours down if you prefer, like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 centimeter or something. You know, it's all about how you like your cards to look. And then I've glued that to the front. So the next step is to get our punch and we're going to push it all the way in, and it is a tight fit because I've got 3 layers of cardstock and embossing, and this can go wherever it can go up higher, it can go down lower. There's really no right or wrong spot for it. And then we're going to punch this. Now it will take a bit because we're going through so many layers, and there's a good chance that your little latch here will pop out like mine has. So there we have our little, and that doesn't quite look, oh yeah, that'll work. Just didn't quite look like in the right spot, but so there's our little opening. By all means, keep that bit. We can use that for something else later on. The next thing I need to do is attach the strap. Now, we need to do this next before we put all the other layers on. And what I like to do is, if you can certainly do it by adding a little bit of you can add a little bit of glue and then just glue that on. But if you're a little bit pedantic and not quite sure whether you'll make a mess or not, I'm actually going to get a pencil and draw a couple of lines. I'm going to open up my card front, add glue to this little section that's on this side of the score line, and we're going to line up that score line with the edge of my card, like so. Oh, try that again. There. Okay. So there we have our the strap bit for our buckle. Okay, so now we can go ahead and add in our layers on the inside. Put my Starry Sky down first. Getting those borders. Has everyone had a good week this week? Did we stay up and watch the funeral the other night? I made it till 11 o'clock. And hello, Judy. So glad you couldn't make it. Thanks for the reminder, Heidi. Yes, I made it to 11 o'clock. And then I started falling asleep in front of the TV, and I thought, oh, I think I could probably go to bed and watch this on replay later. All right, so there is pretty much it. What I would like to do now is stamp a greeting on my scrap of white. And I think I'm going to do happy birthday because I've got quite a few of those coming up in the next few weeks. And I've used, this comes from Shaded Summer. So I'm using Starry Sky ink. Okay, so we're going to punch this out, and yes, oh, come on. Why are you not going through? There we go, thank you. We're going to punch this out, and I'm going to take it down a little bit because it is just that little bit, and punch it. And now what I want to do is reinsert this if I can. Now, when I did it the other day, it was easy peasy. Maybe this side. I have more room this side. We can slide this in. Come on, be nice, cooperate. There we go. There we go. Oh, play nicely. Maybe I should have just die cut it with the dies. Just go in there, please. Oh. Nope. It did it so easy for me the other day when I was doing it and thinking, oh yeah, we can do this. I wonder if, let me get a little sticky note. That might help. Let's stick. I don't know whether that's going to make any difference or not. Ooh. Come on. Oh, we are so close. In town here, they also had, the Anglican Church had the bells tolling. They had a service and then they had the bells tolling for the Queen for the service, and it was lovely. I went in and sat in the park with my mum, and there we go, got it. All right, so we're going to slide that in, and we're going to repunch that kind of like that. So I've actually shortened that size by chopping it. I don't know whether you can see that, but oh, come back. So I've just shortened that a tiny little bit so that it will fit on my buckle, on my strap there rather. Dimensionals. And that was lovely. I love listening to the bells. It's not something that you hear every day. You were permitted to actually attend the service as well, but I didn't. Mum and I didn't really want to hang around for that. We weren't too sure on how long it was going to go for, so we thought we would just listen to on the outside. And all right, so lots of dimensionals. I tend to use a lot of dimensionals, so we will. add that to the front like so. So there we go, there's our happy birthday. Now if you wanted to, you could keep this plain and add it to the card front. I think Bev, when she made hers last week, she actually embossed this and it looked quite lovely. So that's another idea if you wanted to do that. So I'm going to now take this little bit that I'm wondering whether I can, no, that's not going to come off. I added too much glue. Oh. I'm going to glue the whole thing. I'm going to just trim off with my scissors, trim off one end, the boring end. It will be a little bit thick, but it'll be fine. And we're going to add it to the inside of our card, just to bring that design in from the front. And there's that one finished. So our next card, we're going to use that little square. Pick that up over here. We're going to use that little square that I trimmed off before, but I want to trim it down so that it is square, because I want to put it on a square card. So what have I got here? This is 2 7/8, and this is, well, 2 and that one, possibly 2 13/16, which is getting a little bit, let's cut that. Does that look square? I'm not sure whether that's square. 2 and 3, yes. All right, so I've made that square. For this one, I have a square card base. Mine measures 8 inches by 4, and I've scored it at 4 inches. That's because our cardstock goes to 8 1/4 rather than 8 1/2. So for those of you in the US, you could probably make it just that little bit larger if that's your preference. I've got a Starry Sky mat, which is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. I might need to trim that down. And that is, that is 3/4 of an inch smaller on 2 sides. And then our silver, I've got a silver foil mat that I'm going to put under my Starry Sky. And that measures 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 inches. All right, so we've got our silver foil, which is 1/2 inch smaller on 2 sides in our card front. And then our Starry Sky mat, which is 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and that's 3/4 of an inch smaller on 2 sides. So that's how I do my mat layers. I just go down either 1/4 inches, which will give me an 1/8 of an inch border, or 1/2 inch, which will give me a 1/4 inch border. And then this one will go on the front here. So that's how we're going to layer it. So we will, first of all, I'm going to glue my Starry Sky to my foil. And And don't rush this because the foil tends to, because it's not porous, it takes a little bit longer to set, for the glue to set. So we'll just wait for that. Hello, Marnie. Nice of you to pop in. Glad you could join us tonight. Now, if you wanted to, you could pop that up on dimensionals, and I think I will, just for something a little bit different. You know, let's do something a little bit fancy. I think I will add more because I'm just a bit worried that it's going to droop in the middle there, especially if I post it. Although I don't think the post office likes me posting these smaller sizes. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the backs of my dimensionals so I can just move that around and get it into the right spot. Oh, we will just add that. There we go. I'll just really gently and we're going to now add some glue to the back of all this. Now my preference is a top fold card, and this stamp One Sheet Wonder does have that distressed printing on it, so make sure that you have it facing the right way. And there we have it. Now, is Heidi still watching? I'm going to now trim just a teeny tiny little slither off here so I can add it to the inside of my card. I'm just trying to figure out which one I will take it from. Like a little teeny tiny. And this is just a little 4-inch card, so I'm going to trim that down to 4 inches. And I will keep that bit for the next card. And we will add this, make sure this is going the right way. Because we don't like our insides naked. There we go. And that just brings that stamping and that colour to the inside. Okay. Oh, what a mess. So that's, where's my bone folder? I will just, oh. All right, so there's our little square card that we used, that square piece that we trimmed off from our One Sheet Wonder, and there's, I've got stuff everywhere here. So this was on the end here on my sheet, and so there's 2 cards from that. Here is the rest of my sheet. So this has come from here, and this bit has come from this section. and I've got plenty more left over to make lots of other cards. I could make, oh gosh, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. You know, where are my other sheets, I wonder? You know, this is just a basic 4 quarters, and you could easily, you know, you could get a card out of this one and then a card out of this one, and then you've got these 2 little pieces for something smaller. But yeah, so that's just a piece of vellum that I've measured up. Someone mentioned that they've actually used a whiteboard pen, and they can erase the lines out and redraw them and only use 1 sheet of vellum. So that's another idea. But I also want to just let everyone know that I've got classes coming up, well, a class coming up on the weekend, and we will be stamping a monogram of your choice, or you can stamp 2 monograms of your choice. If you're local to me, this is what we will be doing. So what I've gone and done here is I've printed out off the computer somewhere. I've got, no, I can't find it now. Yes. So I print out the letters from off the computer, the outline, and then I trace them onto some cardstock, and then I use my stamps then to stamp within those lines. There's no masking done, absolutely no masking done. You use the shape of your stamps to create the monogram itself. I've actually gone a little bit heavy with my tracing, and you can see my trace lines, but ordinarily you would do that lighter and then erase those out once you're finished. This was just done really quickly this afternoon, in a bit of a rush. I would probably do it again and do it differently. But that's happening on Saturday. If anyone is interested, please let me know. Spots are limited. I'm only doing, only having 4 in this class because of the nature of the class. So if you're interested, let me know. $30 for 1 monogram, and then if you want to do more than 1, it's $10 per monogram after that. So, all right, is there any questions, ladies? Because if not, I think I will say good night. Thank you, Judy and Heidi. Thank you so much. And everyone else that is here. Thank you so much for joining me. Next week, oh, that reminds me, next week I have visitors. And I'm thinking that I will probably come on Tuesday night rather than Wednesday night, if time permits. We've got some friends of ours, lovely family from Toowoomba, but they're just doing this huge road trip. They've just driven from Toowoomba out to Uluru, and then they've come back towards the coast via Winton, I think. They called into Winton and saw the dinosaurs along the way, stopping along the way, I think wherever they wanted to, more or less. And, oh, Heidi, no, you'll love these people, Heidi. They are the most beautiful family that you'll ever meet. Jerry is actually godfather to the youngest little girl, and gorgeous. Mum's a special ed teacher. She's got a master's, I think, in special education, so she's quite experienced. They've got a disabled son as well. He's gosh, he'd be I'm thinking nearly 20 by now. Yeah, so, but yeah, so they're visiting on their way home. They're actually in Townsville this week and they're on their way home this week. I'll be calling in on the way home before they get back to Toowoomba. So more than likely I'll try and come on Tuesday rather than Wednesday because I'll be very distracted. So, all right, guys. I'm going to say goodnight to everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. More than likely Tuesday rather than Wednesday next week. I will put a reminder up on my Facebook page. So if you can join me then, that'd be great. If not, well, see you again next time. Good night all, and have a great week. All right. Bye, guys.